This is the video tutorial for the Happy Days Daisy sanitary pads and wipes wallet. And this is what you'll need: 2 contrasting fabrics and a small piece of Velcro. And this is how we make it. We're going to start by making the tab. Place your tab fabric so you're looking at the right side of the fabric and fold it in half. And just using your fingers, finger press. And open out and then finger press another crease. This is just to determine where we're going to put the Velcro. Using this centre crease line and this centre crease line, measure 1 centimetre in and put a mark. I've made my mark and I've got my Velcro and I'm going to place it on that line centrally and add a pin. I've added my pin and I'm going to take it over the sewing machine and sew the Velcro into place. I've sewn my Velcro on, and now using that crease line we made, fold it in half again. So we're now looking at the wrong side of the fabric. Add a couple of clips each side. I've added a few clips and now I'm going to take it over the sewing machine and use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, sew along this edge and along this edge. I've sewn along this side and I've also snipped the corners carefully for a much better finish when we turn it. And it's turning we're going to do next through the gap here. I've turned it the right way out and I've carefully pushed out the corners and I've also pressed it. Don't iron on top of the Velcro, whatever you do. Now put the tab to one side while we work on the outer. We're now working on the outer. Place your outer fabric right sides up so you're looking at the pretty side. And we're going to find the centre now to put the other piece of Velcro. So carefully finger press, open out and measure 3 centimetres from this edge and put a mark. I've measured 3 centimetres up and drawn a line. Not very clear on this colour, but it is there. Then add your Velcro as we did before and pop a pin in it. I've added my pin. Be careful and make sure that you put your Velcro in the centre of this crease. I'll place my Velcro 3 centimetres up in the centre. I've added my pin and I'm now, as I did before with the tab, taking it over the sewing machine and sew into place. I've sewn my Velcro into place, sewing down this side and this side, and I'm now going to put this to one side while we work on the pockets. We're now working on the pockets. Place 2 pocket pieces right sides up so we're looking at the pretty side. You'll notice that one is slightly bigger than the other. That is correct. Place 1 piece on top as I'm doing. Line up the sides and edges and then add a few pins along this edge. I've added my clips and now I'm going to take it over the sewing machine using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, sew all the way down. I've sewn all the way down, and it is correct that this is smaller than this fabric. Then open out, take it over to your iron and open up this seam. It's much easier on your ironing board. Open that out and press. I've pressed this seam open, and now I'm going to fold this edge onto this edge. And then once again, take it over your iron and press. I've now pressed it, and that's your one pocket all finished. I've repeated the whole process all again for the second pocket. Place your remaining piece of fabric right sides up, so we're looking at the pretty side. Then take your pockets that you've just made and place them one side and one the other, so the folds are looking at each other, and this is the raw edge. Line up all the sides and edges on both sides. Now take the fabric that you put the Velcro on and place the Velcro on the left side, pretty side to pretty side, and place it on top. And once again, line up all your sides and edges. Using the crease line that we made earlier to find the centre for the Velcro, we're going to use it again. If it has slightly disappeared, just recrease it. Take your tab and fold in half and crease it as I've done, and put the raw edge on the raw edge, and that crease on top. Then take your heat erasable pen and mark where it starts, where the pocket finishes. Now I'm going to add some clips all the way around. I've added my clips all the way around. I'm now going to add a few pins to stop everything moving as I'm sewing. I've added a few pins just to keep everything in place as I sew, and I'm going to take it over the sewing machine now and start sewing. And starting from one of the lines I drew, I'm going to start there, stop, sew all along here and stop, back down, stop, all the way across and stop, and then up to the line I drew and stop. I'll be using a 1/4 inch seam allowance as before. I've sewn all the way around, and I've left my gap there for turning and the tab, and I've also snipped each of the 4 corners. And it's through this gap I'm going to turn it the right way out. I've turned it the right way out, pushed out all 4 corners and pressed. I'm now going to add the tab. Take the tab that we made earlier and ensure that you're looking at the Velcro, and then slide it in the gap that we left. Make sure that these edges are all folded in as well first, and when you're happy where it is, add a few pins. I've inserted my tab 1 centimetre in, and I've folded in my raw edge on this side and this side, and I've added some pins. Make sure that your tab is nice and square as mine is, and then when you're happy with it, take it over to the sewing machine and using a scanned 1/4 inch, so fairly close to the edge, take your time with this, securing the tab into place. And that's your Happy Days Daisy sanitary pads and wipes wallet all finished.